Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Cougar Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Dorian Alert, and I am, of course, joined by my broadcasting partner, Jish Sokolsky. What's going on, Jish?
Man, it's been a while since we've been broadcasting partners. That got me a little nostalgic. Wow.
Just a little bit.
I'm doing good, Dorian. You know, after we finish filming this, I'm gonna go out and buy the new Lego Star Wars game. It's gonna be a good time. We had a great day yesterday on Kean Athletics. A bunch of games going on at once, and I can't wait to break it down with you.
Absolutely, we had everyone at home yesterday, and you know we love whenever we're able to see all the sports come together at one. Speaking of which, it was D3 week, and the NCAA was celebrating Division III athletes this week, and that was shown yesterday by all of Kean's sports that were able to be there. They came out and had a barbecue for the Kean student athletes, and you know we saw a lot of support, whether it was at the softball game, baseball games, or at men's and women's lacrosse. So we had a really good day.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and a bunch of student athletes gave a lot of testimonials. So if you guys want to take a look at if you guys want to take a look at what some of your favorite student athletes were saying, they're all over the Kean Athletics socials. Go to the Twitter, go to the Instagram, and you'll be sure to find something there. And they're all really committed. And you know, we just want to take a little moment to appreciate our D3 athletes here at Kean University. But to start off this segment of After the Whistle, we want to give a shout out to our men's volleyball team. Their season unfortunately ended in a sweep against Juniata College. You hate to see it, but there is some silver lining out of this. Duncan Belke was named to the All-CVC second team. Congratulations, Duncan Belke. And rookie freshman Raheem Mullins was named to the third team and was named Rookie of the Year in the CVC. Well done, Raheem.
Well deserved. They had amazing seasons. The season isn't what they thought it would be probably at the beginning, but they ended up having some very good ways to wrap it up.
Right. You know, they lost a whole bunch of talent, a lot of like all-American talent, and they still were able to come out with a winning record. Not only a winning record, 16-10. They made it to the playoffs again. This was even in like a transition year, you might say, for the team. They still barely lost a step. So well done to them.
Well done, and big congratulations. You know, baseball also had a bunch of games go on this week. A few doubleheaders. Their most recent doubleheader being against William Patterson. They were able to split that one. Baseball in this past week has gone 5-2, so a winning record coming into this upcoming week. Big congratulations to Kyle Adorno for winning Rookie of the Week as well. And softball also has a winning record. They have gone 5-1 in this past week in their games as well. They had a few doubleheaders, their most recent being against the Stockton Ospreys. And there was a really big moment, and we'll hear our broadcasting partner, John, who was on the call for this softball game, calling out the grand slam hit by Gabby Fredette. She had an amazing week, and she had an amazing game. So here's John on that call.
Should be ruled a single. This one hit deep to right. Is that going to go up at the fence? It's gone. We've got ourselves a grand slam. How about that? Gabriella Fredette, have yourself a day. Already Fredette had a run scored and an RBI single in her last at-bat, and now gets herself a grand slam.
Yeah, and I'd be surprised if Fredette doesn't win Player of the Week. She had a great doubleheader, as you alluded to, against Montclair State, a bunch of hits for her. And then the grand slam against Stockton, allowing the mercy rule finish. It doesn't get much better. She should be, and Jack player of the week. I would be shocked if she was not.
I'd be surprised too. Moving on to tennis. Tennis has also gone 2-1 in this past week. Their most recent victory against William Patterson, they won that match 8-1. Big congratulations to them. They've been on a roll so far, currently sitting at 4-5, but that also takes into account the fall season that they had. But coming into the spring, they have been 3-2. So big congratulations to women's tennis. They'll keep going, and we'll mention some of their matchups that they have coming up in this next week, and they have a lot of them.
Moving on now to the lacrosses, both men's and women's lacrosse. Both of them had historic record-setting days yesterday. The women's started us off against Rutgers Camden, their first NJAC matchup of the year. And in that game, fifth-year senior Sarah Wagner set the single-game assists record with 7 as Kean rolled on to dismantle the Scarlet Raptors 20-3 in that game. Dana Meehan, who was honored for senior night, one of 6 seniors honored yesterday, she scored 5 goals.
Here's Giordano working over the screen. Inside from Meehan looking for goal number 8. Instead dumps it off for Wagner. Wagner finds her teammate Broska, who finishes at the net, and that is assist number 7 for Sarah Wagner, which is now a school record. Goal number 2 for Broska on the day. But we are witnessing history here today, ladies and gentlemen. Assist number 7 for Sarah Wagner. What a great day for the fifth-year senior. 17-2 now. Kean leads by an even 15.
Big congratulations to the seniors. You mentioned one, Dana Meehan. Big congratulations to Emily Brett Schneider, Madison Varelli, Gwen San Augustine, Nikki Mastrodomenico, and Megan Santina on their senior day.
Mastrodomenico also had a hat trick yesterday. Very good for her. She did not have a lot of goals coming into the day, but really took senior day and ran with it, having her best game of the season. As for the men's lacrosse team, oh my goodness, where do I even start with this one? Another record-setting day. I was on the call for this one. At halftime it was 18-2, and that is a blowout if it was a final score. The final score ended up being 31-7, Dorian. 31 goals in a single game. That is a school record. 22 different scorers. Leading the way, of course, was Brady Moore, 5 goals in his first game back. And he was followed by Dante Magliano, who had quite a few impressive goals as well on his way to a hat trick. But we had people coming off the bench and scoring immediately, defensemen scoring. I was on the call for when we did break 31. We're going to take another listen at that.
28-4. The school record is 30 goals in a game for Kean, and it also came against Rosemont just a few years ago. Let's see if they can beat their record again today. Let me see what he can do, and now Kean will go full steam ahead. Gorney on the shot, Schlafer on the rebound. That goes wide again. Kean is there on the rebound still. Over for Duthler. Back to Schlafer. Schlafer thinks about it. Cuts outside, and the goal hits the back of the net. And there's your school record, ladies and gentlemen. 31 goals in a single game, and it's Christian Schlafer who brings it home. Schlafer's 3rd goal of the year to bring it to 31. 2 records set in both these lacrosse games. Oh, it's been so much fun to call. We still got 10 minutes left of this one. Let's see how far they can go.
But I just cannot get over how much of a dismantling it was over a CSAC rival, mind you. We beat Rosemont 31-7.
I was actually sitting at the softball game. We were in the 6th inning, and I looked over, and I saw the score. It was 12-0 at the end of the first, pretty much the end of the first quarter. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh.
Right. Shout out to Coach Shiner. Shout out to Coach Johnson. The teams yesterday outscored their opponents 51-10 if you combine the final scores of both games. So just an absolute utter domination in front of their home fans. And we love to see it. We really do.
Absolutely. And yesterday was actually the Cubs game. If you listen to our most recent episode, we interviewed Coach Shiner and Kean, Vice President for Public Affairs, Dr. Youngblood, and we spoke about the Cubs game, which was meant to help or expose students in urban communities to the game of lacrosse. And I don't think there's any other way that, you could be introduced to lacrosse in such dominating fashion. Before we move into our interviews for the day, just a couple of more quick shout outs. A very big shout out to Keon Taylor on the football team. He won the NCAA statistical champion for interceptions. KT, congratulations. You had an amazing season. All the interceptions, I remember being on the call for a few of those, and, amazing season. There's nothing more I can say.
Hey, 8 picks in 9 games. Dorian, you're gonna like this reference, but that's Trevon Diggs numbers right there.
I love it. Another really quick shout out to Eliza Files for winning Player of the Week for softball. She batted .625 with she actually hit 1,000 slugging percentage, which is very, very impressive. She had 5 hits, including a home run. She drove in 3 runs and scored on 4. So big congratulations to Eliza Files on her accomplishment this week. And one more shout out for those players inducted into the Chi Alpha Sigma chapter. Chi Alpha Sigma is essentially the honor society for student athletes. And we had a lot of student athletes inducted across all different sports. This year's inductees include Taylor Acevedo, Shadi Badir, Megan Blaisdell, Celine Brady, Heather Clevenger, Tara Doxius, Isabel Desano, Joseph D'Ayusto, Morgan Dietz, Jenna Flemings, Sedona Guard, Morgan Hall, Gwen Hangy, Joshua Harris, Autumn Hillier, Megan Hotschel, Marissa Kest, Rosalie Lackner, Isabella Marino, Paige Metz, Tara Miner, Angelica Nino, Bianca Ortega, Samantha Payne-Liu, Brooke Papalardo, Terrence Phillips, Lauren Pluta, Anthony Porter, Gwen St. Augustine, Cyan Seeger, Jenna Sheedy, Laura Stump, her sister Morgan Stump, and Gabby Triolo. A big congratulations to these student athletes, proving that they're not just athletes, they're also students as well, and they can be dominant on the field, but they can also be dominant in the classroom. We have a great couple of interviews for you coming up this week. We spoke to the women's basketball team, and, there's a little piece of news that Jish was actually able to get out of one of the players. So we're excited to hear how that turned out. But we also speak to Brianna Shaw, one of the women's swimmers who actually started up a program called Play Like a Girl, and we speak to her along with LaKitha Murray in the athletics department a little bit about that program that was able to wrap up Women's History Month. So let's get started with Cougar Quick Hits with the women's basketball team. Joining us on the pod now are a couple of familiar voices. We have head coach Mandy King and Shannon McCoy joining us. How are both of you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course. Along with them, we have a few new voices. Brittany, Graff, Macy, Seaman, and DarRique Smith are also joining us. How are you all doing today?
Good.
Great.
Coach, we're going to hop right into the questions with you. So the end of the season was unfortunately heartbreaking, but what were some of the positive things that you kind of want to hang your hat on and bring into next season?
Well, again, thank you so much for having us and covering us all year long. It means so much to our program and our families, and I'm just very, very appreciative. And the thing that lots of things that I'll remember the most, but just winning our regular season championship in the NJAC was incredible. To go 16-2 in a league that is this tough, it says so much about the young women in our program. And, I just thought, like, right from the start, we built our culture and our family and and we really lived it, from start to finish. And the other thing is, I think just the impact that our girls have on the athletic department and the university, the way that they play and the character and the grace that they carry themselves with, I think they just have such a big impact on our campus community. And that always makes me so proud. I think the last couple of things that really stuck out to me, I guess, the depth of our team. It seemed like every night it was somebody different who stepped up, and I'll just never forget it. Whether it's, Sarah Olivero, hitting all those threes against Ramapo, Ricky getting hot against Newark, Britt's performance on the road at Ramapo, I'll never forget, Macy bringing down the house against Patterson. I mean, and then Shannon just doing so much in addition to scoring. It seemed like every single Shoddy at Stockton. I mean, it just all the different people who stepped up to make that journey so special. And it also goes to the depth that we had in our practices too. It's so competitive there. And, so there are a lot of guys that deserve credit that never, that don't get a chance to get in those box scores, but that depth really set us apart. And then, ultimately the resiliency of this group is what we were known for from the start. And, it's going to carry us and propel us into greater things, into next year. So just so many things to be proud of.
Yeah, right. And speaking of resiliency, our next question is for you, Brittany. You had a very scary moment in the playoff game. We all were praying hard for you. But what was going through your mind when you ultimately did step back onto the floor?
So when I fell, and that was like the worst pain I've ever felt in the basketball game or in general. But when I was getting help from the trainer, all I could think about is going back in and fighting hard with my teammates and winning the game. And by the time I got back in there, I was still limping and stuff. So it was kind of hard to like keep the pace up and stuff. But yeah, it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. But all I could think about when I was sitting there was, I want to go back in. I want to go back in.
Coach, you alluded to it a little bit before, but we're going to go over to Macy. Your role on this team just continued to expand throughout the season. When did it kind of click for you that, you could pick up the college game, and how did it feel to ultimately be inserted into the starting lineup towards the end of the season?
Well, to answer the second part of the question, it was obviously nerve-wracking because I've never played college basketball before. And the situation was kind of tough because I wasn't necessarily prepared the best because I was still a nervous little girl going into this big game. So I was kind of nervous. And I think it clicked for me when everyone around me on the team told me that like I was capable of doing what I showed that I could do, because at first, like, you look at the girls around you in the competition and you're like, I don't know if I can compete. But like once the people around me started telling me like, you can do it and you're capable of doing it, I think I realized like I do have potential to do what everyone else around me is doing and be like my own person.
For sure. And Coach, when did you think it started to click for Macy?
I think that, we saw it happening every day because we get to see all the behind the scenes stuff in practice. So you would see glimpses of it. And I think, I think the belief that all of her teammates have in her, they push her very hard. It's almost like I don't really need to say much to Macy because her teammates push her and my great assistant coaches do as well. But we could all see it in her. And I think it's to compete at this level, you have to be consistent. So I think the breakout moment I would probably say was our game at Jersey City. I thought that was when it really started to click, and it was a big piece of why we won there. Was her ability to finish at such a high level and impact the game on both sides of the ball, and then start to show off her range a little bit. And so I think that's when it really started to click that, she could really make an impact in this league, and we needed her too.
We're going to stick with talking about Macy for a little bit, but I'm going to transition over to my guards on the team, Shannon, Brittany, and DarRique. Your assist numbers started to go up continuously throughout the season, especially when, Macy was at the center position. I noticed a lot of fast break points against Jersey City. Against Jersey City, she had a really great role in you just being able to throw it down low, and she would ultimately go for the layup. When did you realize the way that the offense could expand in that sense when Macy was on the floor?
Honestly, I think it started from our first practice because we all realized and we saw like how much bigger we are, like whether like height wise and like stronger. And Coach Mo, like one day during practice towards the middle of the season, she like came in and she was like, you guys need to make a connection, whether she goes, you guys trust each other guard to guard and the bigs trust each other big to big, but we need to trust each other from guard to big. So that was kind of like our mindset kind of thing. And we did a lot of stuff at practice that worked on that. And, by the end of the season, like you saw the games like Jersey City, Willie P, like we see Macy running down the court, like posting up, or like any other big, like we got to the point where like we trust her and we know that she'll make a play out of it. And if she doesn't, she'll kick it right back out to us and we'll get something better.
Also, going off what Shannon said, like when Macy walked in the gym the first day, I was like, Jesus Christ, like this girl is big. So it's like right then and there, because like before we had big men, but they weren't like long and tall and they could run. So I'm like, oh, we're going to use this one. Like we're going to use her and abuse her because like, why not? Like, but I feel like once she started to trust herself, then we trusted her more because at first she didn't trust herself. So her trusting herself made us trust her more, and it worked.
I'm muted. I think it came from her having confidence in herself, like off of what Ricky was saying, because in the beginning of the season, like you said, our assists weren't as high as they were towards the end of the season. So I think it comes from her and her trusting herself and having the confidence that she can make her layups. And then when she was hitting her layups, we trusted her to put it in the basket and give it to her more.
And then when she was making jump shots, that's
when she kicked it up a notch.
Great answers. Our next question is, speaking of this offense, there were a lot of moving pieces. Our next question is for you, DarRique. With you missing a few games throughout the season, how did it feel to finally get back into the lineup? And was the transition difficult for you to get back and immediately pick up a bunch of minutes?
Well, I don't ever really feel like I left because I was at every single practice, every game. And if you ask coach, like I was third assistant coach on that bench. So it was like I never left. So it was like it wasn't hard to get back in the lineup because I couldn't wait to get back because they were just like going crazy when I left. I was like, it made it being out so much easier because they were doing what they had to do. You know what I'm saying? But it was hard. The first couple weeks coming back was hard. Like I just felt like I forgot that I hadn't been doing anything for the past month and a half. So it was like, you need to relax. Like, I was just like, no, I need to do it. I was like, you need to relax. And coach all the time tell me, like, you need to relax. Like, I was just eager to just get back to where I was before I got hurt.
Coach, while DarRique did miss some time, there were a couple of the younger guards that were able to pick up some playing time as well. So how useful do you think that experience was for them? And when DarRique was reinserted back into the lineup, what kind of confidence did you have? What kind of confidence did you personally have in having a pretty much healthy team heading into the latter half of the season?
Yeah, I think, when Ricky went down, it was really difficult for us. And it's hard just on a personal level too, because she had put so much work in to raise her game this year. So, it hits you emotionally. But then our girls know that we've got to step up and fight for her, and fight and make sure that we continue to grow as a program. And I thought that, I thought Stephanie LaGreca and Natalie Molesky and Allie Cullison, when her number was called, and also the work that Allie did in practice, like she had to run the one for us for while Rique was out. And I can't tell you how hard that is, and so I think the experience and, it forced us to play more of our players that are completely capable. And they showed you how good they can be when their number is called. And they made some really big plays when it mattered most. So I thought that part was huge. And, again, it was like somebody stepped up every single night. And then when Rique got back healthy, I thought, wow, it was the first time in so long that we had everybody back. And so, yeah, I mean, I was completely confident in the run that we could make. And, I believe in these guys so much. So it was just really good to be able to go to battle with a full roster, healthy players, who are tough and together.
Absolutely. And a huge part of this team's success was your ability to create defense and turn it into instant offense. And one player on this call who really exemplified that all season long was you, Brittany, and you were great on the offensive end of the floor, but you also led the team 2.5 steals per game. Where did you gain those defensive instincts to get into those passing lanes, and what kind of goes into that mindset?
I think it's really hard to have a defensive mentality over offense because, like you said, defense does turn into offense. So if I get that steal, I'm going off on the layup and I'm going to get 2 points, or I'm going to pass it to my teammate and they're going to get 2 points and I get an assist. So no matter what happens, I think that offense is created from defense, and a lot of girls really telegraph where they're passing the ball. So it's important to look at where they're looking. And if they're passing it to my girl, I'm ready to jump in there and get that ball. So I think it's really important to be defensive as well as offensive, but defensive plays really win games.
Absolutely. I noticed it first in, I forget what game. It was the game against Baruch. And I saw you I remember I was sitting next to Kevin and during halftime, we were like, how many steals does she have? And we were sitting there it felt like every single time we were saying, oh, and there goes Brittany with the steal. So you have a knack for playing passing lanes.
Thank you.
So I'm going to head back to Macy. A little bit more praise for you. Last time when we talked to Anaya, she absolutely raved about you in practice, raved about you on the floor. What was it like having that kind of veteran presence on the team, and from her and some of the other older players as well?
I think that is part of the reason why I gained so much confidence, because I had people like Anaya and Kay and Sarah and Shannon who I knew would tell me how it is, and sometimes it's hard to take, but I learned to take it, and from it I think I grew a lot more as a player and an individual as well. And even Rique would give me a hard time, and a whole bunch of other people. I could write you a little list, but I think the tough criticism really helped me become the player that I am, and knowing that I could look up to them as people as well, because I look at Shannon and she's identical to the person that I want to be in major and basketball career. So knowing that she looked at me in a way that I looked the same at her, it kind of told me, you're in the right direction, you're going the right way. People are looking at you the way that you should be looking at them. And it showed me that this program not only creates people that are successful in their majors and basketball, but are also good people, and that I'll keep as my friends for beyond a lifetime.
For sure. And now kind of veering a little away from the deeper questions just for a second, back to Brittany. One thing that we noticed the entire season was your affinity towards the head fake, using a head fake on offense. It was something you were doing all season, and we just wanted to know, when did you develop that habit, and is it a trademark of your game now?
So it wasn't always a part of my game, actually. I kind of developed that in my college experience, because I just think I find it helpful. I mean, I'm pretty quick, so I think it's important that I make them think that I'm shooting, and then I'll go right by them or something like that. Or I'll draw 2 and Shannon will be wide open, hit her, and she drains a 3, because that's what we do.
Jish knows the call. So for throughout the I don't know if you guys have seen it's a TikTok, and it's a scene from Family Guy, but the entire season, we were quoting that scene from Family Guy
Corner
when
three.
the corner three sound. So anytime that would happen, that's what we would say
On
at every call. Let's see. For Shannon, you finished your career. You finished this season. You're currently ranked third place in the all-time scoring column. You were first team all NJAC, and now you were NJAC Player of the Year. What would you say was your most proud moment of your time here at Kean?
So that's a good question. Well, I don't have an answer for you right now, only because I decided to take my 5th year, so I will be staying. And so I don't have a favorite moment yet because I'm hoping, we finish that unwritten story that we've been working for this past 4 years now, going on 5. So yeah, that's all. That would be my moment. Still looking for it.
So I'm not gonna lie, I heard a rumor previously, so I kind of knew the answer, but I was like, do I want to break news, or do I want to? I was gonna let you guys say it when it happened.
Yeah, broke the news. It's that you guys are one of the very few people who know. So you heard it here first.
Hey.
If not second.
So some breaking news here now on the Cougar Culture podcast. Shannon McCoy returns for a 5th year. Our next question is for Coach. You earned your first NJAC Coach of the Year selection as well. What makes this award so special to you personally?
Oh, it's just, it's just all my players. I love my players and my coaching staff so very much. And it's a program award, and it's a reflection of all the great young women that are a part of this team and a part of the team's past. And again, I have the best assistants. I think I can, I'll say out in the country. I love them. They're so committed to our girls, and it's, we talk about being a family, and I think that award is a reflection of the family and how much love there is in our program.
Absolutely. If y'all couldn't tell, Jish is going to be an amazing broadcaster. The way he switched from the announcer voice back into his interview voice. So he's going to be great at that. Brittany, you also had an award at the end of this season. You earned your first all NJAC selection, making the 2nd team. What did that mean to you as a 2nd-year player?
It really felt great. But it also motivated me because 2nd's the first to lose. So I want to be up there with Shan. I want to be on the first team. So it just motivates me for next year and the year after that, to be better and keep working hard, and I'll see the results.
So before Jish goes, I want to talk about a moment that Shannon and Brittany had, and what it meant to both of you after the TCNJ game, because I'm super active on Twitter. I saw a tweet saying that Shannon walked out of the locker room and said to Brittany, this is the best point guard I've ever played with. What does that mean to you, Brittany, and Shannon? I'm sure you played with a lot of point guards, but what is it about Brittany that makes her so special?
Well, for starters, I've never been a point guard ever. So when I came in to college and I was thrown at the 1 position as a freshman, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. So right there, I had a lot of shoes to fill. And, Brittany coming in, not only did she relieve that point guard position from me, but we also created a point guard and shooting guard connection where I can trust Brittany to bring the ball up, but I know she can trust me if she's stuck that I can bring the ball up, vice versa. So it works both ways. And Brittany just gets it. She gets the game so good. She understands what I'm thinking in here, even when I don't. And you don't think she can make a pass, but it's coming to you anyway. You might not think she sees you, but you know that she definitely sees you wide open, and she'll find a way to get it to you. And I think that's so important because as a point guard, you need to be very demanding. You need to be able to think on the spot, and Brittany, holds all of those characteristics. And that is there's other 4 guys on the court look at the point guard and count on them. So when Brittany brings up the ball and does all her little fun things and goes off, it's just so relieving because I'm just so proud of her, and I just watched her grow into the little point guard she is, and I'm so happy.
Thanks, Shan. Actually, I didn't even know that happened. My mom told me that Shannon was like in tears after the game. It was like the best point guard I've ever played with, and my mom didn't even say anything. She was just like, that was so cute. Like, I appreciated it so much. And then she told me about it, and I was just like, I love her. I love Shannon so much. She's the best shooting guard I've ever played with as well. And the best player I've ever played with.
We love it. We love the sisterhood on this team. That's really such an inspiration, not only for the rest of Kean Athletics, but for us all, really. We named the podcast after Cougar culture. But our final question of the day, we initially had a final question asking Shannon how basketball would stay a part of her life as she departs from Kean. But obviously we can't ask that anymore. So we did called a little audible here. Exactly. Little audible here. Some recent news just came out since we wrote these questions. Shannon, you were named a finalist for the Jostens Award, a very, very prestigious award for D3 hoops. First Cougar in program history to be named a finalist for that award. What would it mean to you if you won?
I think it would be like really amazing because, Coach told me about it, and she just gave me like a rundown of what it was when I did get nominated, because I was just like, whoa. But being that it's like out of the country, like nationwide, and there's so many people who are nominated for it, and then I'm one of the top 20 finalists, I mean, that's kind of really cool. Like, that's like cool. Like, I don't know, but if I did win, like I've always said, like, even though my name is on it or labeled with it, like, it doesn't mean that all my teammates, coaches, like even like you guys, whoever was a part of my career, like you guys all have a little part of it. And, being able to represent Kean Athletics and basketball, our basketball team, it's just means a lot. And it's really, important to me. And it's something I'll cherish forever.
So you heard it here first, folks. Shannon McCoy will be back for another season, perhaps more records to fall, more school records. So keep an eye out on that. Can't wait for Kean basketball in 2023. You're going to want to keep your eye out on it.
2023 Kean basketball. Maybe we see a specific record fall that, she has a real possibility. I'm not gonna say anything yet, but
let's not put the commentator's curse down just yet.
Oh, hey, anything's possible. Let's leave it at that. But it is now time to go beyond the competition with Brianna Shaw wrapping up Women's History Month with Play Like a Girl. Joining us on the podcast now, we have two very special guests. One of them you have heard before. We are joined by Brianna Shaw. How are you, Bri?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. And we also have another new voice joining us today. It will be Deputy Director of Athletics, LaKitha Murray. How are you?
I'm good, Dorian. Thank you.
Of course. So we're gonna jump right into the questions, and I wanna frame this a little bit. So it was at the end of Women's History Month where we had several different programs occurring at the end of the month. And one of them in particular was this panel that was set up by you, Bri, called Play Like a Girl. Walk me through a little bit of the process that you went through to not only create this, but execute it.
So something you might not know is that I'm a resident assistant here at Kean. So as a part of being an RA, I'm tasked with creating programs, and I'm a part of a subcommittee that works with strictly diversity and inclusion. So I came up with Play Like a Girl because women's equality in sports is something I'm really passionate about and I love talking about. So I came up with Play Like a Girl, where I would get a bunch of Kean athletes or people that work for Kean that have played sports, like LaKitha and Leslie and Mandy, and just have an open discussion with the athletes, the general student body, about women in sports, women at Kean who play sports, and like the history of women.
So when I heard about the idea, I thought it was awesome because that is a major thing. There's a day in particular, National Girls and Women in Sports Day, and that that's I believe that's in February,
Mhm.
but it's a day that kind of gives a chance to shine and highlight the women that are in sports, whether it's on the athletic side, athletic training, and administration, and things along those lines. So I think what you're doing with Play Like a Girl is an absolutely awesome program.
Thank you. I thought there was like a missing component of the Women's History Month. I feel like there's so much history for women, but I feel like we could really highlight women in sports because we've come such a long way where we've had no women in sports and now we have women dominating the sports field. So I thought it was something missing and I'm glad that we got to have it happen.
Absolutely. LaKitha, walk us through a little bit of your background and how you ended up in, well, first, what it was like when you were playing sports and also now in your role at the university.
Yeah, so for me, I played at UAB 2004 through 2008, which is University of Alabama, Birmingham. And, my experience there is completely different than the experience right now. You have name, image, and likeness that's taking place, and that's an opportunity for female athletes to take advantage of, their image and, putting themselves out there, promoting themselves and marketing themselves in different ways, as well as marketing the sports as well. So I played at UAB. And then once I finished up at UAB, I stayed on with my coach for a little while and trying to get some experience, trying to figure out what it was exactly I wanted to do in athletics. And my SWA at the time was very, very good with, promoting women's sports, being a big advocate of women's sports. So I was like, this is something that interests me a lot. And I want to continue to be, that advocate for women's sports and being sure that everything, have an equal opportunity. So with that, I started volunteering with the Southwestern Athletic Conference because that's in Birmingham, Alabama. And then from there, I was able to get an opportunity to get hired on at the SWAC. And then after that, I got the opportunity to go to the College of New Jersey. I was able to work as a senior associate athletic director there for some time. And then from there, I transitioned to the national office, the NCAA, for a year. And then I landed here at Kean University, which is, I love having the opportunity to be here and work with our student athletes and also be a part of the student athlete experience. For me, that's something that's really, really big is the student athlete experience, because I know I went to a mid-major school, but my experience there, I would never trade anything for it because it allowed me to see different aspects of life, and I got to travel to areas that had I not played basketball, I would have never traveled to those places and have those experiences. But also, I still want to be the agent of change. That was something that I talked about during the Play Like a Girl panel. And, you want to be that agent of change that still, promoting women's sports, promoting female student athletes, putting them in positions to be successful. That's something that, for me, that I've really, really am looking forward to for us here at Kean University is how do we put our female student athletes in a position so once they leave here, they're in a position to be agents of change in society, have an impact on society, not have to sit and wait, for that opportunity. So they are in the position to be able to qualify for whatever they're going after. So for me, that's really, why I'm excited to be a part. And that's the difference. The biggest thing from when I played and now is the name, image, and likeness. You can take control of that. And there's more exposure from when I was playing, and now you have a lot of streaming. Streaming was not big when I was playing. So if we weren't, when I was playing, if we weren't on national TV, which was very rare, maybe once or twice a year, all we had was radio and live stats. But now, you're able to stream every game. That's no cost. Your institutions through their IT departments, they're able to stream those games. So for me, that's one thing that I noticed is a big change from when I played until now.
Absolutely. And, I'm going to ask a couple of questions that were actually a part of the panel as well. And I want to start with you, Bree. Who were some of the women in your life, or not only in your life, but also in athletics that you kind of looked up to and have brought you to this point?
Obviously my coaches growing up, I started swimming at a summer club. So most of that was run by women actually. So I looked up to them because like those were my first coaches. They taught me how to swim. They taught me technique of swimming. Growing up, it was obviously like Missy Franklin in swimming. Dana Vollmer, she was a great butterflyer. And then right now I look up to the University of Virginia women. They are my idols. I love them. Kate Douglas, Paige Madden, like I obsess over them. I think they're amazing women. I think what they are doing is incredible. I check all their stats after meets. They are my favorite people in the world. I will always support them.
And that's a really good list of people. And same question for you, LaKitha. Who are some of the women that you look up to? And even now, who are some of the women that you kind of keep tabs on, or even, as your peers that you kind of gravitate towards?
Yeah, so for me growing up, I was really big, Cynthia Cooper, because that was when, as I was transitioning from elementary school into middle school, when you start playing on your team sports, and as you kind of get in that groove of like what sports you actually want to migrate to, it was really big. I was really big on Cynthia Cooper and the Houston Commons. They had Tina Thompson, they had Cheryl Swoops. At my high school team, our shoes were the Cheryl Swoops shoes. So that was a really big thing for that to be your team shoe at that time. And then also for me, as I continued to go, even though Serena Williams was not a basketball player, but just her drive, her tenacity, like her continuous, like her perseverance, like to be that dominant player and just to continue. Like I still watch her to this day. Like I obsess, like you obsessed with University of Virginia. I obsess when she like is playing in the U.S. Open, the French Open, all of that stuff. Like I'm glued to TV watching her play all the time, and just watching them, just how they have an impact on female sports, not just their sport, but females in general, is really big. For me, it's like watching those athletes become Nike athletes, like they're lifetime Nike athletes. Usually you only see male athletes have that, but being able to just follow and watch them be so successful is something that, I follow. And, I mentioned this at the Play Like a Girl panel while I was working at the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Cynthia Cooper actually was one of the head coaches at the time. And I got to work with her because I oversaw the sport of women's basketball. And that was, I got to work with her. So it's kind of like a full circle moment for me to like watch her growing up and then to actually have the opportunity to kind of work with her from a coaching standpoint as I oversaw that sport. So that was some people that I really looked up to and watched as I was growing up. And then also right now, I just have mentors that I really stay connected with. One of my college coaches, two of my college coaches, actually, I stay in contact with. They've been really, impactful in my life and getting me to where I am right now. As I mentioned, my SWA when I was in college, she's one of my biggest mentors. Like I still connect with her. I actually just saw her at the NCAA convention this past January. So being able to have those connections and watch them still have impacts on women's sports to this day are people that I still follow and stay connected with, and also help me continue to stay alert and abreast of things so that I'm having an impact here at my institution while they're also having an impact at their institutions as well.
Absolutely. And when I look at women in sports, I think of it from another angle, obviously from the journalism side as well. So when I think about women in sports, I'm thinking people like Malika Andrews, Ashley Nicole Moss, Joy D'Angelo, who she's not as known, but she's still up there in terms of women in media and women in sports media. And so though MJ Acosta is another one who is really big for me on NFL Network as one of my mentors as well. And so when I think about women in sports, those are kind of the people I gravitate towards. Obviously the athletes as well. You think about Sabrina Ionescu being such a young WNBA player, but she has such a profound impact on the New York Liberty. Dee Dee Richards and Dejanay Carrington as well on the Connecticut Sun and the New York Liberty. Those are some of the people that I gravitate towards personally as, women that I look up to, because if you think about it, kind of what you were saying, LaKitha, those are women who have incredible and insane drive, and they're wildly successful. Taylor Rooks is another person who if you look at everything she does, there's not a time you don't tune in to Bleacher Report and she's not on there. Like she does just about everything. And so when I move into my next question, which was also asked on the panel, what does it mean to you to be a woman in sports?
I think it means everything. I mean, obviously being an athlete means everything to me, but being a woman in sports means the world, because it means that I'm given the opportunity that everyone else is given, and I would hope that it would be equal, where I'm having the same opportunity as my male counterpart in swimming, and that I'm achieving as much as I can as an athlete. I'm given obviously the same opportunities and continuing my athletic career. Being a woman in sport means the absolute world to me.
Yeah, I know. I think for me, it's as I said, it's like being that agent of change. Like right now, I know there have been some steps and some progress that has been made, but I think for me, it's meaning that having that impact or paving the way, continue to pave the way, so the road is not stopping with me. Continue to pave that road down farther so that the generations after me can continue going and could take the sport or take the landscape to new heights. I think for me, it's just kind of being that person that can have an impact. I may not be able to do everything that I want to do, but as long as I have like some sort of impact, I think for me, that's what it means for me being a female student athlete or a woman in sports. And being there that someone can look up to, as in a sense. If I'm able to impact one person, I feel like I've done what I needed to do to continue the legacy and the path of females being successful. I mean, it's also for me, it's like, if I do it now, that means the person from coming behind me, it's going to be easier for them. Whatever challenges they may see, I don't want my challenges to be their challenges. I want there to be new things that they're tackling. That lets me know that I've done my job now. If my challenges are not their challenges.
So looking at the event as a whole, what was, or did you expect as many students to come out as they did, or what was kind of the reaction when you saw all of the students and student athletes sitting in front of you at that moment? I'll start with Bree.
So typical programs that I host get less than 10. I got to really pull people to come to an event as an RA doing this program. So this one I put all of my blood, sweat, and tears into. I tabled, I advertised, I texted, I emailed everyone I possibly could. And the day before, Lauren emailed me and told me that there were like 19 softball players coming. The entire women's basketball team was coming. I was like, there's no way this is happening. So I get to the event, I get to the gym, and I'm setting up chairs. I'm like, 35 will be enough. I really don't think that many people. We were standing room only for like 5 minutes because we didn't have enough chairs set up. I was like over the moon excited, and we hadn't even started yet. And then when it was all over and everyone was signing the poster, I was like in shambles because I could not believe that had just happened. We had that many people show up in support. People brought such great questions to the table and were just so enthusiastic about it. I could not be more happy with it. I could not believe that many people showed up. 53, a total of 53 people came to that program. Insane.
No, I think it was awesome. I think for me, it was the male athletes that showed up, because it's titled Play Like a Girl. But when male athletes see that, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to pass on that. But to see the male athletes show up, and not just show up, but engage and ask questions, that meant the world. Like, I mean, Brianna, hats off to you. Like, this is a phenomenal program that you put together, and the impact that it's had, and just know that everybody's going to remember you for this. And it was just something, that's what for me, like, it was that awesome to see that, because they recognize what you're doing, and they know that one of the questions the guys asked, how do we promote or be more involved with female sports? Like, that's big, because you want the male athletes to be that ally for you, to help spread the word, and for them to be there, and your promotion, everything you did worked. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is that to have everybody there, every seat was filled. Like she said, every seat was filled, and to have to bring in more chairs, like, it was awesome. Like, I felt like this was something that's going to be something that's lasting. Maybe this is the first year we started, but it's going to continue to grow because of the success from this year.
For sure. Hats off to you, Bree. That again, the idea is awesome. I love the idea, but LaKitha, you kind of alluded to it, the connotation behind the way it's phrased, play like a girl. What do we need to do to kind of change the way that sounds? Because when you hear play like, especially when you're a lot younger, you hear play like a girl, it's like, I don't care. But now as we're getting older and we're getting to a point where women's sports are growing and growing at a relatively rapid rate, what does it mean to play like a girl?
I think for me, what it means to play like a girl, it's not that we're playing like a girl. It's the impact that, hey, recognize who we are. You can't say, if you say that, oh, we're just playing sports, then that means you're not seeing who I am. You're not recognizing that, hey, I am a female. So it's part of my identity. So therefore you're excluding me and my identity. So I think, although it says play like a girl, I think that's important because although we're females, we still can have the same impact. We still have the same, equality towards everything that our male counterparts have, even though it says play like a girl, but still know that we're just as passionate. We're just as committed to what we're doing as our male counterparts. And I think that's important to not dismiss who we are as individuals and what we bring as females to the athletic world.
So you actually posed one of my questions, or my final question in your answer before this one, which is, what can I do? What can male athletes do? But also, what can I do as a person who I'm not an athlete, but I cover sports, and sports are one, I'm obsessed with sports, so I'm going to support regardless. But what can males in general do to support and bring more awareness to women's sports? If you, Bree, if you want to start, and then we can wrap up with LaKitha.
I mean, sports media and support media and just coming out to like events and the games and my meets, like just being there. Like you see, for example, men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, I've seen it. The difference in the amount of people that show up to games is enormous. Like you can see like 20 people in the stands versus 50. Just showing up to women's games, you'll get the support, knowing that they're working just as hard as you are, that the women are probably putting in more effort if at times because they feel like they're not the same, or like people are looking down on them in some sports. So everybody can just support better, just support like March Madness, watch women's games, watch men's games the same amount, keeping things where they just changed March Madness to, it's not women's March Madness, it's just March Madness, like keeping things equal, equity, like just support. That's all I can say is just support. That's how you can do it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like Bree hit the nail on the head with that one. It's support. That's the biggest thing. And then also, if the effort is put in to market, if the same amount of effort is put into the male sports as it is the female sports, people will show up. People will support, people will be there, they will spread the word. But if there's nobody showing that interest or putting that commitment towards it, how can you expect others to do it as well if it's not, if they don't see it? So I think the biggest thing, like Bree said, marketing, that's big. Like she said, women's Final Four, the money and the effort that was put in as almost it was as much as the effort is put in for the men's basketball tournament. And you saw like the amount of tweeting that took place, the marketing that took place, the images that were put out, like the viewership was up all the way around for the women's Final Four. So that's important. So if you build it and put the money there, people are going to show up and support. And once you show up and support, that expands the reach of what we're trying to do. So again, like Bree said, just supporting it, marketing, putting the money there is going to be very key. And then also showing up. That's the next thing, like showing up. Like she said, you can go to some games, you'll see a handful of people, and then you go to the next game, you see like 6 or 7 handfuls of people. So like whatever is being done for that sport, let's do it for that other sport as well, so that we can be sure that those sports are getting that same exposure and the females are getting that same exposure as our male counterparts.
And now it's time to preview the week ahead, Dorian. Let's start off with some baseball action. Your Kean University Cougars baseball team is first in the NJAC through 6 divisional games. They are 5-1 in the conference, splitting that doubleheader against William Patterson. They will continue their streak against NJAC opponents as they go on to face the Ramapo Roadrunners on Thursday and Friday. Ramapo right now is ranked 6th in the NJAC. They're 2-2 in the conference, 9-10-1 overall. So Kean looking to increase their dominance this season, 22-6 overall. And the softball team also has a double date with Ramapo, a doubleheader on Tuesday. That'll be in Mahwah on the road. Ramapo in the softball NJAC is ranked 4th. Kean is at 3rd. So this will be a real nip and tuck battle for positioning in the NJAC standings early on in the season. Can't wait to see that.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see it. Women's tennis is actually playing at the Pratt Institute on April 10th. And they have, like I said earlier, they have a lot of games coming up this upcoming week, including playing against DarRique College at home on April 11th. And they will also be playing against Cairn University on is that Wednesday, the 13th? Yeah, on Wednesday, April 13th, at home in Union. And once again, they will be on the road coming up on April 14th at New Jersey City University. Tennis is really starting to ramp up, and they will be looking for a spot in the NJAC tournament. Men's and women's lacrosse. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Men's and women's lacrosse are also have a few matchups this week. Not as many as we're kind of used to, but women's lacrosse will be playing at Ramapo College. So the Roadrunners are seeing a lot of Kean this week, but they will be playing at Ramapo on April 12th at 4 p.m. up in Mahwah. And then they will be playing at home against the College of New Jersey on Saturday, the 16th of April. And then men's lacrosse will be playing at Stockton University. Stockton saw a lot of us this week with baseball and softball, but this time they'll be seeing our men's lacrosse team on Wednesday, April 13th at Stockton at 7 p.m. And then they will be playing against Cairn University in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. So a lot going on this week, Jish.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it as well. This was a great episode again, Dorian. Another W.
Another W for us. Before we let you guys go, once again, you can find us on Instagram at the Kean Athletics Instagram page, on Twitter as well, where we post a lot of updates on the episode when we release episodes. You can also find us on the Kean Athletics YouTube page, Kean Athletics. And if you just look us up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you can find us. Just type in Cougar Culture Podcast and you'll see our nice logo. And yeah, I mean, that, like you said, just another W. Great episode.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again.
Of course. Everyone have a great week, and we will see you next time on the Cougar Culture Podcast.